Nicaragua is days away from holding an election that the U.S. government calls a sham. President Daniel Ortega is seeking a fourth consecutive term and silencing the opposition before the first vote is cast. He has jailed opposition leaders and attacked critical media, and his inevitable victory has implications for the U.S. Nick Schifrin reports.
Nicaragua has become a police state. And for these relatives of opposition politicians who've been detained, the crackdown is complete.
There's no democracy. Democracy has been demolished.
Carlos Fernando Chamorro is a Nicaraguan journalist now in exile. His is one of Nicaragua's most prominent families, now the target of authoritarianism. His mother Violeta became president in the 90s by defeating Daniel Ortega during his first term. Carlos's cousin Juan Sebastián was an opposition candidate before he was detained in June. And his sister, Cristiana, was an opposition candidate before she was detained and charged by Ortega's government with money laundering and ideological falseness.
He cannot face the leadership that are trying to represent this aspiration of democracy and justice. He cannot risk power in a competitive election. So he basically decided to cancel the electoral road.
In all, this year, Nicaraguan authorities have detained 7 presidential candidates, 39 leaders perceived as government opponents, ruled major opposition parties illegal, shut down dozens of non-governmental organizations, and raided major media organizations, including Chamorro's.
There is an order of arrest against myself for being a journalist. We have a new political majority in Nicaragua. It was very clear from that moment when people took up the streets and they protested in different forms.
That majority was born in 2018 protests. Ortega announced changes in the country's pension system that ignited national demonstrations. The response was brutal. Police and pro-government paramilitary groups killed more than 300 people.
Nicaragua is currently living and suffering a dictatorship because there are no independent, autonomous, democratic institutions that guarantee the rights of citizens.
Wendy Acevedo has been a human rights activist for 20 years. In 2018, police raided her office and accused her group of what she calls trumped-up charges. It forced her into exile. She now helps lead a group that documents human rights violations. It's called Nunca Más, Spanish for never again.
Never again, because never again do we want dictatorship in our country. Never again impunity. Never again to be forgotten. And one of our main areas of work is the recovery of historical memory. So these situations we Nicaraguans have experienced never happen to us again.
Ortega's been at the center of Nicaraguan history for decades. He came to power as a Sandinista guerrilla commander who helped overthrow a dictatorship and became president in 1984. After losing to Violeta Chamorro in 1990, he returned to power in 2006. Over time, he consolidated power, muzzled dissent, and oversaw modest growth. But today, Nicaragua is the region's second poorest country. 30% live below the poverty line. And since 2018, there's been a steady economic downturn, aggravated by COVID, and 2 Category 4 hurricanes that struck within weeks of each other. That helped lead to a mass exodus. In June and July, the Department of Homeland Security said more than 20,000 Nicaraguans attempted to cross the U.S. border, the highest number ever.
Under the current circumstances, this is not sustainable.
Tiziano Breda is the Central America analyst for International Crisis Group.
The country and the government resulting from this one-sided election is unlikely to attract and to restore the sort of economic buoyancy that he experienced before.
The Trump and Biden administrations imposed targeted sanctions and travel bans on Ortega, his wife, Vice President Rosario Murillo, and other senior officials. And just this week, lawmakers approved new legislation calling for more sanctions on Nicaraguans responsible for unfair elections. Today, a senior Biden administration official said the president would avoid signing the bill before Sunday's election in order to avoid giving Ortega a justification for future crackdowns. But for an American president who's been focused on promoting democracy, Sunday's elections is a direct challenge, says Breda.
It could be used by others, like other wannabes, authoritarian, to follow Ortega's footsteps if they perceive that the cost of doing that would not be so high.
But the cost has been high for the activists. You've been fighting for human rights for decades. You had to flee your home with your family. Why is it worth it?
I want a free Nicaragua, a democratic Nicaragua that respects human rights. May my daughter and son live in peace and freedom, that they can have education, health, and all the rights that every people should have in any country in the world. And I really believe that this can bring about profound changes in our society.
But right now, change is not coming. This weekend, Ortega will declare victory and try and entrench his rule even deeper. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin.